Hello, everyone, and welcome back. If you watched the last video, you'll know that we talked about how you were sold a version of yourself before you even had the chance to figure out who you were. So we talked about the template, the gurus, the aesthetic, the behavior coaching, all of it designed to turn you into someone specific before you ever, had the chance to become anyone at all, really. And I ended with a question: who are you outside all of that? Today, that's exactly what we're getting into. Because even if you get all of it, the relationship, the lifestyle, the look, you name it, you may still feel empty because it was never really what you needed. It was just what you were told to want. And the reason for that is simple. You can't feel at home in a life that was designed for someone else. So let's start with the uncomfortable part. You don't know what you actually want. I'm sorry, but most people don't actually know what they want. And I don't mean that as criticism, I mean it as a fact that most people never stop to acknowledge. Because we live in a world that assumes that you know. Every piece of advice, every coaching program, every step, every help book starts from the assumption that you have a clear sense of what you want and just need help getting there. What if you don't? What if the things that you think you want were never actually yours to begin with? The boyfriend, husband, gift, soft life, the aesthetic, that one version of femininity being sold everywhere right now. What if none of that is actually yours? What if you absorbed it so young before you had any real sense of self that it just became part of you without you actually ever choosing it? You're being coached on what to do to become someone's girlfriend or wife before you even know who you actually are as a person. And that's not a small thing. That's your entire sense of direction being built on someone else's map. And the outcomes that you're chasing, whether that's a relationship, again, a lifestyle, or a look, even if you get them, they can't fill the gap that self-knowledge is supposed to fill. Because self-knowledge isn't just knowing what you want, it's knowing why you want it. It's knowing what actually makes you feel like yourself, what you genuinely value, what triggers you, and why. How you actually want to spend your time, what kind of people you want around you, what kind of life actually feels like yours from the inside. And when you don't have that, when that foundation was never built because you were handed a template or a framework to follow instead, even getting everything on that list can still, leave you feeling hollow because the list was never yours to begin with, never yours in the first place. So this is what nobody in that world tells you. They sell you an outcome without mentioning that the outcome was always supposed to be a byproduct of knowing yourself, not a replacement for it. And the brainwashing runs deeper than most people realize because what you want, how you see yourself, what you believe you're capable of, and or even what is possible for you, gets shaped by the content you consume, the communities you're part of as well. And when those voices are telling you consistently from a young age that your value is tied to your appearance, your femininity, your ability to attract a certain type of man, that becomes the lens through which you see everything, including yourself. And it's not just about how you look or who you attract, it goes into every corner of your life. Be a boss babe, build an empire, hustle until you don't need anyone, or no, be a trad wife. Stay at home, cook, submit, that's your purpose. Or another alternative would be climb the corporate ladder, break glass ceilings, prove yourself in every room you walk into. All of them extremes, all presented as the right way to be a woman. And many women follow them, not because they've had the chance to think it through and decide, oh yeah, this is genuinely what I want, but because the content found them at the right moment, spoke to something they were already feeling, and filled the gap that self-knowledge was supposed to fill. So the problem isn't any of those choices. Some women genuinely do want to, I don't know, build a business or stay at home. The problem is following any of them without ever asking, is this actually mine, or did I just absorb it? So you're not just chasing outcomes that might not be ones you actually desire as well. And unlearning that is the actual work. And that starts with noticing, not a complete identity overhaul or throwing everything out and starting again, but rather just with paying attention to the moments where something feels off. The outfit that you wear, for example, because it fits the aesthetic but doesn't feel like you, or the opinion that you decide to hold back because it doesn't fit the soft, agreeable version that you've been performing, or the interest you've never pursued because it didn't fit whatever framework you're working with, or the relationship that you stay in because it looks right from the outside, even if it feels wrong from the inside. Those are the moments of disconnect, that show you something. They are the gap between who you've been told to be and who you actually are. And most people spend their whole lives dismissing those moments, telling themselves they're being too sensitive or too difficult or too much. So, what does it actually look like to start figuring out who you are? So, in my opinion, it looks like asking the questions you've probably never been encouraged to ask. Most of us are too busy asking the wrong questions. How do I get him? How do I look better? How do I become more attractive? All superficial. When the only question that actually matters is, what do I actually want? But here's the problem with even that. If you've been conditioned long enough, you ask yourself what you want, and the programmed answer will come straight back. The whether that's like the wealthy partner or building the empire, the lifestyle, the look, and it'll feel like yours because you've been carrying it for so long that you just don't question. So you have to go deeper than that, not just what do I want, but where did that want actually come from? Did I choose it, or was it chosen for me before I was old enough to even know the difference? And a lot of women find these questions terrifying, not because they're difficult, but because answering them honestly means potentially wanting something completely different from what they've been building towards. And that's scary when you've already invested, so much into a particular framework or particular relationship or particular life that you were building for yourself. But wanting something different isn't failure, it's information, and it's the beginning of actually building something that actually fits. You cannot build a life that feels like yours using someone else's blueprint. The only way out of that is in, not through another framework or another set of rules or another guru telling you what to be next, but through the slow, uncomfortable, and worthwhile process of figuring out who you actually are. What you like, what you don't like, what matters to you, what doesn't, what kind of person you want to become. Not necessarily to attract anyone or to fit any standard, but what's the person that you actually want to be when you're really being honest. And that's not a quick fix. It doesn't make good short form content. It doesn't have a need before and after. Um, but it's the only thing that actually works. And deep down, I think most of you already know that. It's just a scary thing to do and a scary thing to ask. So the question I want to leave you with this week is, think about something that you really want right now, and instead of questioning whether you can get it or how you can get it, question where it came from. Did you choose it, or did someone else choose it for you before you knew who you were? That's where it starts. So, yeah, that's it from me for today. Shall see you in the next one.